Hi everyone, this is Stephanie at Hightower Stitching, bringing you a reveal today. I've gotten 2 of the projects I was working done finished, and then I want to share something a little extra with you that I'm comfortable sharing with a project I'm working on. So here we go. This is the first project, and this is from video 194. And if you look at the maroon square there, that star that had those parts shooting off, this was so nice because this only had 2 size patches, the 4.5 by 2.5, and they were light ones and dark and print ones. And then there was the 2.5-inch squares, and there were 2 light of those and 4 print of those. And you made this one block, and with the 2 pieces, well, the 4 pieces to make it, if you look at that maroon, you've got 4 quarters, and that was the same block made over and over and over the little blocks, and then just turned as you set up the star. And so what I decided was I had made 193 into a bigger quilt, so I'm going to do a small project. So I did this table runner, and I can see that I missed a section. That's so funny. I got so excited about being done, and I was to the binding. And in my room, my workroom, I could not find a color that would go with that outer border, that aqua colored one right there. So I jumped in the car and ran and got something. And I ended up getting with a brown to be able to get the aqua. It's real funny. And then on the back, I just used the fabric that's on the left is a blue flowered on a cream background. And that looks really nice when it's all quilted up. And on these, I just did some circles in circles, and I didn't do the stars. I just did the part that was the background. But you can see, now this is my telling myself that I need to go back and do a little bit more work. 5 blocks in a row made 37.5 inches. And then the whole runner ended up being 14 inches by 45 inches, which is a nice size for that. Reveal number 2 is back from video 193. These are the squares that had that southwestern look. And it's one I told you before that they had done in strips, and it took a while to do. And this one was just the squares, and it just really is nice. And that's in 193. And this had 9 by 7. And it made a pretty nice size. I can't find it. I wrote it down. But anyway, you can tell it's nice because it hangs to the floor. And to finish this one, when I went in, I had to go in and buy backing for it because I wanted to pick one of the colors I had in the front and one of the flowered ones. Well, then I spotted they still had one of the darks up there. And I was going to use that as a binding. And the lady in there said, well, why don't you just make that for your border too and put a border on it. And that border really pulls this together. And for quilting, it was so nice because there were so many squares. I said, this is a great place to do the orange peel. And they're not going to show up much except in odd places because you've got the darks, you got the lights. And I think I used a grayish thread when I got ready to quilt it. And the orange peel has just got the little loops that go through each of the sections. And in the middle section, it had I think it was a 4.5-inch block. And I just cut that or drew a line to make that into 4 blocks. So when I started on my machine, I could just go straight across a set of blocks. But let me tell you, that was a long way to go. So I just started on a column, and I just go and work down and down and down. And the biggest thing I had was the bobbin business. And I thought, I wish I had a continuous bobbin when I'm doing continuous stitching. But it was really fun, and I'm really proud of it. Now, it's always nice to go back to blue and cream. It's amazing how many people say, oh, that quilt makes me feel good. So that's a good project, and the colors turned out to be good. And here's the sheet, see if I can get it up here, of where I divided it up, and then I put the orange peel in there. Now, in the boxes that had two colors, were half triangle squares, I actually didn't put the third one in there because it doesn't fit as easy. So I would go up and go up, and then I would come down and put a loop and come down, go back up, put another loop and go up, and then I would do this one, then I'd fall over to the next box, and I repeat it all the way through. And then when I got to the end of whatever section I was doing, I'd start at that end, and I would just go backwards and get the last little loop that I had to do in there. So that was fun. That's number 2. And this is number 3. And this is another special t-shirt quilt. I showed you one a while back that I had done, and I've been doing them for years, off and on. But this one I just love. It's so funny because I did a lot where you just put the blocks side by side with no sashing in them, and that's fine. This one needed the sashing because we didn't have that many shirts. We didn't have a large amount of shirts. This was to be a male's quilt. So that's really fun to change because you have to change your thinking about how many flowers and hearts and if any of that goes on in there. And so what we do is my friend came over and she brought this box of shirts, and we sat and we looked at the shirts. And the first thing we did was went through and we sort of looked at the colors as we went. But then we looked at what she wanted off of the shirt. Did she want the front? Did she want the back? Did she want something off the back, close to the front? And what was fun about this, I have never had a quilt that I did, and somebody said, I want each one of these little 4-inch somewhere on the quilt too. And I had thought, oh man, I'm going to have to hook them on the blocks, and I'm not sure I'm going to like that because all the blocks are different colors, these shirt fronts. And then I said, so we talked about it, and she said, okay, then just go with it. And I got home and I laid them out on the floor to get an idea about my colors. But I also had an issue here with some small shirts because she saves 3 or 4 from when he was a little bitty guy. And then I was going to have to work with that and figure out whether it goes in a row, in a column, do 2 of them go together. You know, I like this. It's like a puzzle, I finally decided. And then I've got it laid out on the floor, and I take a picture of it. And I say, the first picture I take, and I look for the colors and whether I like them at this point. Because this is a changing project. I don't just start and then that's perfect. I don't have to do anything with it. And I start moving the shirts around. And then I've cut off the back, and I save anything that's on the back she wanted on there. Or if it's going to be the block, I save it. And then I get everything else and throw it in a box. I don't throw anything away till we get done. And otherwise, I give it to the person, and they have these great rags or great pieces that can be set between their dishes in the cabinet or the pans or something. But you can see I had I was short 2 squares of those 4-inch. And when I finally said, well, I'll just make those be the posts in the sashing where they top vertical meet the horizontal. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. I want to do something different. And I said, oh, wow, look, these 4-inch, they were all 4-inch, and they could go right between in a column going down of pieces. And I said, the only thing is, it's going to be 4 inches of sashing. But I only did it on that part. The vertical, I went back and made it a 3.5 inch, and it made a nice size quilt. And so now I've started quilting on it, and I have such great patterns in these, and they're so interesting. There's not a whole lot of blank space, and I like blank space, but you know, I don't like them all to be like that. But I just wanted to share with you this one that I have in progress, and to remind you that when you're working on a project and you haven't sewed the things together, take the camera, lay it out, And I'd lay it out, lay out your project and take a picture, because it's a great way to go back and look at darks and lights. You can look at your color arrangements till you get it just like you want it. This is Stephanie at Hightower Stitching. Thank you for watching the reveal. If I have any notes, I'll put them in the description. There are time codes if there's one that you want to see again in another time. Really appreciate you looking. Please subscribe and hit like. And leave a comment. Let me know you've been here. Thank you.